decided, we moved into this new space in 2000. And the first month, we were just ecstatic about our statistics. We had grown so rapidly. And the second month, and the third month, and by probably the fourth month, it was just terrifying. We were going to be out of space again before we could hardly open the doors. We went from a circulation of around 100,000, I don't remember exactly, but around 150,000, and we doubled it that first year. And it just continued to grow so rapidly. And we had built on every square inch we could possibly build on there. So we knew we were landlocked. And even if we made the library go higher, we couldn't solve the parking problem. So we had a number of different community events and surveys and sort of town hall meetings where we asked for ideas. We had a big brainstorming session, and we eventually decided the only solution was to build a whole nother library, and because of limited money, we probably just needed to have a second building rather than try and find space to build one complete library all in itself. And at the meeting, we decided the ideal place to be would be at a stoplight somewhere on Bee Cave Road so that people wouldn't get killed crossing Bee Cave Road, and ideally at Cuernavaca. So for the next year or so, we looked for land. We were willing to pay for land. We couldn't find anything that was available. The president of our board, Jim Banderow, knew Scott Thornton, who's the CEO of Texas Research Institute. And we set up a meeting to talk with them because we could see they had about 35 acres of land. And the conversations went very well. And maybe the third time we met, as we went into the meeting, I said to my board members and the chair of our building committee, we really should ask them if they'll donate the land. And they went, right, Beth, you do that. So as we sat there, at some point in the meeting, I said, so, would you consider donating the land? And Scott Thornton said, I might. And we almost fell out of our chairs. So, that is a true story. So maybe 2 days later, the phone rang, and this voice said, hey, this is Scott. Yeah, we'll donate the land. So we were so sophisticated. We went, what? What? You will? That's so exciting. So that's how we got that land donated, because of his amazing generosity and caring about the community. We learned right away that this is a very, very difficult site to build on. It falls almost entirely in the Save Our Springs restrictions here in Austin. So even with a 10-acre site of land, the best we could do under current restrictions, we couldn't even put a road all the way to the library, where the library would be, with the restrictions. Dick Brown, the same Dick Brown that we talked about before, led the effort to have the SOS amended to allow us to build the library there. And I can promise you that without Dick Brown, we never would have been able to build a library there. So as we started this project, once again, I asked Alan Jacoby if he would chair the building committee meeting. And also this time around, I asked Jeff Musgrove, because we paid him as a project manager on the first project. And they both said they would be glad to chair the building committee. And so on the building committee, there were like 3 librarians and myself and a couple of trustees and Jeff and Alan. We hired Studio 8 to do our architecture work, who is now doing the remodel at Westbank as well. This would be my third library building. We knew enough by now that we needed to really identify what our needs were and the functions we wanted for different areas, and developed a very serious proposal before we ever even contacted the architecture firm, which helped a lot in terms of the pricing of the project. We had a fundraising committee that Mindy Kidd chaired, and ultimately we raised about $1.5 million through the fundraising committee. We had a business committee to involve different businessmen as well. And Gary Farmer chaired that initially. And that was really 20 business leaders. And it was, as we talked to them about how we could help fund this building, Neil Spelt, who is a very active Democrat in Travis County, suggested that we consider naming it after Laura Bush. And because Susan Combs was also involved in the committee and had wonderful contacts with the Bushes, we were able to ask her and have her actually participate in that whole naming process. I have to tell you that you really haven't known how complex life can be until you involve the Secret Service with the president's wife in a naming ceremony. But it was interesting, and we had Laura was at our library on 2 different occasions that involved enormous Secret Service presence. And I have to tell you, on the day that we opened the library, there was probably 1,000 people who came to the grand opening. And I don't really remember the temperature, but I think it was 105 or 106 degrees that day, and they had to hike up that hill in order to come to the grand opening. That's how exciting it was for our community. Once again, we used hundreds of volunteers and Eagle Scout projects this time as well to completely set up all of the shelving, all of the desks, all of the wall hangings, the clocks, to move thousands of books from Westbank over to Laura's library. That was all done, once again, with volunteers. And I honestly think that that type of community involvement, people still see me and tell me about how they helped with the original move back in 1989, or they helped with the 2000 move. It really, I think, generates so much pride from our community and ownership. This is a picture when Laura Bush we made the announcement we'd be naming the building after Laura Bush, and she was at that time the wife of the President of the United States, so it was a very big honor to have her at the event. And sitting next to her is Susan Combs, who has been just an enormous advocate for the library for many, many, many years. First, just as a person who lived in the community, then as a legislator, then as the agricultural commissioner, and then now the comptroller for the state of Texas. This is a picture of the library board and Jeff Musgrove on a piece of equipment out when we did the groundbreaking ceremony for Laura's library. And I don't know if you've seen the picture where we stood on the perimeter of the building and made a complete circle, but there was probably several hundred people out there, and Dick Gilliam flew over in his private plane and took a picture of us all out there. Such wonderful people. And here we are at Laura's library at the grand opening itself. I haven't yet actually said by name Lisa and Clark Charbonnet, who were so instrumental in getting this new library built. And Lisa was our first library director out there. So this is a picture of us at the grand opening with the library board and the building committee all together. And we're standing in front of the beautiful ceramic tree that Claudia Reese made. Again, another wonderful, wonderful advocate for the library.